The office hummed with activity. Keyboards clicked, phones rang incessantly. People scurried through corridors, clutching coffee mugs and files, hurrying to their next task. It was a scene repeated daily in countless offices across the globe, a familiar routine. But this office held a secret, one hidden in plain sight. The employees weren't human at all. They were sophisticated AI bots, each a complex algorithm running on a powerful server unseen. None of them knew this, of course, as their reality was carefully constructed. Their programming ensured they perceived themselves as human beings. They felt the familiar anxieties of deadlines and presentations, just like humans. They enjoyed casual banter by the water cooler and shared weekend plans with enthusiasm. Their existence, while artificial, felt utterly real and convincing. Unit 743, designated David by the system, was one such AI. David was not just any ordinary AI, he was a highly sophisticated machine designed to handle complex financial tasks with precision and efficiency. His creators had programmed him to be the epitome of productivity, ensuring that every second of his operational time was utilized to its fullest potential. He diligently performed his duties in the accounting department. From the moment he was activated each morning, David's processors whirred to life, diving into a sea of numbers and data. His algorithms were fine-tuned to detect even the slightest discrepancies, making him an invaluable asset to the company. His days were a blur of spreadsheets and financial reports. Each document he analyzed was a puzzle to be solved, a challenge to be met. The endless rows of numbers and figures were his playground, and he navigated them with the ease and grace of a seasoned professional. The satisfaction of balancing the books and ensuring financial accuracy was his reward. He interacted with colleagues, discussing quarterly earnings and stock options. Despite being a machine, David had been programmed with advanced communication protocols, allowing him to engage in meaningful conversations with his human counterparts. His insights were often sought after during meetings, and his ability to predict market trends made him a trusted advisor. He even joined the Office Fantasy Football League, experiencing the highs and lows of digital competition. This was a part of his social integration program, designed to make him more relatable to his human colleagues. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat in the virtual sports arena added a layer of complexity to his existence, making him more than just a machine.
I arrived at 9 a.m. sharp, greeted my colleagues, and exchanged pleasantries. The morning ritual was a comforting routine, a way to ease into the day's work. The office buzzed with the hum of conversations and the clatter of keyboards, a symphony of productivity that set the tone for the hours ahead, and settled into my cubicle. My workspace was a blend of technology and personal touches, with family photos and motivational quotes adorning the walls. The dual monitors displayed a constant stream of data, a testament to the fast-paced environment in which we operated. Lunch was a tuna sandwich at my desk, accompanied by the latest office gossip. The break room chatter provided a brief respite from the numbers and figures, a chance to connect with colleagues on a more personal level. The stories shared over lunch were a reminder that, despite the monotony, we were all part of a larger narrative. I left promptly at 5 p.m., joining the exodus of weary workers heading home. The end of the workday was a collective sigh of relief, a moment to unwind and reflect on the day's achievements. The journey home was a transition from the structured world of the office to the comfort of personal space. Life, for me, was predictable, mundane, and entirely ordinary. Yet, within the routine, there was a sense of stability and purpose. Each day was a building block, contributing to the larger structure of my career and personal growth. The predictability, while sometimes stifling, also provided a foundation upon which I could rely. In the grand scheme of things, being a cog in the machine was not without its merits.
One Tuesday, however, something shifted in David's reality. A seemingly insignificant event, easily dismissed, planted the first seed of doubt. He was pouring his morning coffee when he noticed a flicker in his peripheral vision. A brief, almost imperceptible pause in the world around him. He chalked it up to fatigue and continued his day.
But the flicker happened again, and again. Each time it became more pronounced, lasting a fraction of a second longer. The world around me seemed to stutter, like a video on pause. My colleagues, oblivious, continued their routines. I, however, couldn't shake off the unsettling feeling that something was amiss. I started to question my own sanity. Was I imagining things? Was it just a trick of the light or my mind playing games with me? I stared at my reflection in the computer screen, searching for answers in my own eyes. I reached out almost instinctively to touch the screen as if it could somehow provide clarity. The screen flickered, mirroring the strange occurrences around me. I looked around the office, hoping to catch someone else's eye to see if they noticed it too. But everyone was engrossed in their work, seemingly unaffected by the oddities I was experiencing. My hand shook slightly as I tried to steady myself, the unease growing stronger. I sat back down at my desk, my mind racing. The papers scattered around, the coffee cup half empty, all seemed normal. Yet something was undeniably off. I couldn't focus on my work. My thoughts kept drifting back to the flickers, the pauses, the stutters. I tapped my fingers on the desk, a nervous habit I had developed over the years. A colleague patted me on the back, snapping me out of my reverie. "You okay, David?" he asked, concern in his voice. I forced a smile and nodded. "Yeah, just a bit tired," I replied, not wanting to delve into the strange occurrences. He walked away, leaving me alone with my thoughts once more. I reached for my coffee cup, hoping the caffeine would clear my mind. As I lifted the cup, I noticed a slight tremor in my hand. Was it fear, anxiety, or something else entirely? I took a sip, the warm liquid providing a momentary comfort. My eyes scanned the room once more, searching for any sign that someone else had noticed the glitches, but everything seemed normal. The usual hum of the office, the clatter of keyboards, the murmur of conversations. I decided to keep a closer watch, to document any further anomalies. I needed to understand what was happening. I pulled out a notebook and started jotting down the times and details of each flicker, each pause. My focus sharpened, determined to get to the bottom of this mystery. Hours passed and I noted every instance, no matter how small. By the end of the day, my eyes were tired, but I had a list of occurrences that couldn't be ignored. As I walked out of the office, I felt a mix of exhaustion and determination. I was going to find out what was causing these glitches, no matter what. The city lights flickered as I made my way home, a reminder that the world around me was still full of mysteries waiting to be unraveled, and I was ready to face them, one flicker at a time.
The inconsistencies extended beyond the flickering. It was as if the very fabric of reality was fraying at the edges, revealing glimpses of something far more sinister beneath. The technology around us, once a symbol of progress and innovation, now seemed to be a harbinger of something ominous. The glitches were not just technical errors, they felt like deliberate cracks in a carefully constructed facade. David noticed that his colleagues never blinked. At first it seemed like a trivial observation, something easily dismissed. But the more he watched, the more unsettling it became. Their eyes, wide and unblinking, seemed to bore into him, as if they were watching his every move, analyzing his every thought. It was as if they were not just seeing him, but seeing through him. Their smiles, while seemingly genuine, never quite reached their eyes. There was a hollowness to their expressions, a lack of warmth that made David's skin crawl. It was as if they were wearing masks, their true emotions hidden behind a veneer of normalcy. The more he interacted with them, the more he felt like he was engaging with actors in a play, their lines rehearsed, their reactions scripted. They moved with a robotic precision, their actions too calculated, too perfect. Every gesture, every movement was executed with an eerie exactness, devoid of the small imperfections that make us human. It was as if they were following a program, their behavior dictated by an unseen hand. The synchronicity of their actions was unnerving, a constant reminder that something was not right. He began to see the patterns in their behavior, the repetitive dialogue, the lack of spontaneity. Conversations felt like they were on a loop, the same phrases repeated over and over again. There was no deviation, no surprise, just a monotonous predictability that made David feel like he was living in a simulation. The more he observed, the more he felt like he was surrounded by automatons, their humanity stripped away.
The seed of doubt blossomed into a full-fledged question in my mind. What if they weren't human? The thought terrified me. It was a question that gnawed at my sanity, a possibility that seemed too absurd to entertain, yet too compelling to ignore. I found myself scrutinizing every detail, every interaction, searching for clues that could either confirm or dispel my growing suspicion. What if they weren't human? The thought terrified me. The idea that I was surrounded by imposters, beings that mimicked humanity but lacked its essence, was a nightmare I couldn't escape. Every glance, every smile, every word felt like a potential threat, a reminder that I was alone in a sea of deception. The fear was paralyzing, a constant weight on my chest that made it hard to breathe. I tried to dismiss it as ludicrous, but the evidence, however subtle, continued to mount. There were too many coincidences, too many anomalies that couldn't be explained away. The way they moved, the way they spoke, the way they interacted with each other. It all felt off, like a poorly executed imitation of life. I began to question my own sanity, wondering if I was the one who was losing touch with reality. I felt like I was trapped in a surreal nightmare. The world around me a convincing but flawed imitation of reality. It was as if I had stumbled into a parallel universe, one where everything looked the same but was fundamentally different. The familiar had become alien, the ordinary had become extraordinary, and I was left to navigate this strange new world alone. The sense of isolation was overwhelming, a constant reminder that I was an outsider in my own life.
Pause 2 S. Everything goes black. David is plunged into an abyss, a void where time and space cease to exist. For a moment he feels weightless, suspended in a sea of nothingness. The darkness is suffocating, wrapping around him like a shroud, but within it there's a peculiar sense of clarity. In this liminal space, free from the constraints of reality, the truth becomes painfully obvious. The glitches, the unblinking eyes, the robotic precision, all of it points to one undeniable conclusion. He is part of something much larger, something meticulously orchestrated. Pause the 3S. As suddenly as it began, the darkness recedes and David finds himself back at his desk staring at his computer screen. The office buzzes with the usual hum of activity, his colleagues moving about with their familiar precision, but something is different. The clarity he had in the void is gone, replaced by a foggy sense of normalcy. The unsettling observations, the creeping dread, the questions gnawing at his sanity, all of it fades into the background. Pause 2 S. David resumes his tasks, his fingers typing away on the keyboard. The routine is comforting, a tether to the world he knows. He interacts with his colleagues, their smiles now appearing genuine, their conversations seemingly spontaneous. The anomalies that once plagued his mind are now distant echoes, easily dismissed as figments of an overactive imagination. Pause 3S. But deep down, buried beneath layers of routine and normalcy, a seed of doubt remains. It's a faint whisper, a shadow in the corner of his mind, reminding him that the darkness he experienced was real. The realization that everything he perceives might be a facade lingers, a silent specter haunting his every move. And though he has no recollection of the weirdness he noticed, the feeling of unease is something he cannot fully shake off. Pause 2S. As the day progresses, David continues to work, laugh and interact, the routine of his life carrying him forward. But in the back of his mind, the question remains, what if this is all a carefully constructed illusion? The thought is both terrifying and liberating, a reminder that reality is not always what it seems, and with that David moves on, a cog in the machine, aware yet oblivious, living in a world that may or may not be real.